A mech stepping onto the field means that
Captain Boka of the 5th Battalion.
things have gotten serious.
Let's get dangerous.
Comstar tomfoolery inbound.
You're gonna take missions against the dragons?
Do you understand what setting you're in?
Wow.
Screaming, I know what you are.
Calm down, Pancreas.
There we go.
Wait down.
The greatest machine to ever grace the galaxy.
Alan.
Terror and inevitability incarnate.
What the hell?
Black Marauder. But
What is this? What is this, guys? What is this? It's MechWarrior's fly! Wait, who's this by? Pancreas! Pancreas. Is this game better than Black Knight? Because I played Black Knight. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. How much better? Do I get to use a Black Knight? The Black Knight was my favorite mech, if you can't tell. And the Shadowcats.
we're going to start this video off with a history lesson. When the first few tanks rolled across the trenches of World War I, they changed the face of warfare forever. Though they were slow, cumbersome, and generally unwieldy pieces of crap, they would go on to become responsible for some of the most crucial victories in battles and wars to come.
Wasn't MechWarrior the crazy game with the crazy controller for Xbox? I don't know. I remember, this is what I remember of MechWarrior. Me and Papa, I remember Papa getting one of those, it looked kind of like a airplane like joystick kind of controller. They had like a lot of feedback and stuff. And that's what we would use. Like at first, when I was really little, that's what I watched Papa play. I'd sit behind them and watch them play MechWarrior. Then I started playing it. Then I got the controller. And then I was Captain Boka of the 5th Battalion. Then I started playing Age of Empires and Serious Sam. Papa had a lot of fun games.
Basically immune to small arms fire and eventually with the speed to cross the battlefield in a relatively short amount of time for a several-ton monstrosity of metal, everyone from soldiers to people screaming at battlefield games is happy when a friendly tank rolls around the corner. Meanwhile, in real life, mechs are a bit less practical. Aside from the fact we're barely able to make people-sized robots walk properly, let alone one that's 3 stories tall, a mech would be a firing magnet for every weapon on the field the moment it was deployed. In the world of Battletech, however, mech warfare is not only as awesome as it sounds, it's the gold standard of industrialized slaughter. From the mightiest of assault mechs to even the humble locust, a mech stepping onto the field means that things have gotten serious. And today in MechWarrior 5...
Serious. Let's get dangerous.
Mercenaries, we will be doing our part to bring stability to the inner sphere. As long as by the inner sphere you mean my bank account, and by stability you mean 50 assault mechs. Well, in this game you can't conquer any territory, that's a-okay. As a mercenary company, we have our own goals, chiefly making a lot of money. So while the galaxy burns around us, our retirement fund will only grow more and more secure. The goals of this campaign are very simple. Obviously, we're going to be making boatloads of cash in exchange for boatloads of undocumented war crimes, but that's the baseline. To give us some extra spice, there's a few things we must do for the glory of our company. Rule number 1, I must end this game with a full lance of Atlas mechs.
You're going expensive, I see.
As the biggest, they are the bestest, regardless of what people who can't afford to throw 20 of them at an enemy may say. Tactics are for pussies and people without an atlas. It's not a hard rule to follow since that's how pretty much every Mech 5 run ends anyways, but
I'm assuming at least one of your atlases is going to run a lot of like quick fire weapons and lasers to back up the other 3, which I'm assuming you're just going to overload to hell with like heavy weapons.
Now it's official. Rule number 2. We are not allowed to take missions against the Lyran Commonwealth. Space Germany is simply the best place in the Inner Sphere, and so they will not be bothered.
You're not gonna take missions against the dragons? Pancreas. I thought you loved me. I thought we had an understanding here.
And rule number 3, now relevant in the base game due to the latest DLC dropping. Once a certain group of inbred, moronic, honor-blinded turbo dickheads show up, we must do everything in our power to fight them. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves though. We still have to start the game. With the most fitting name of a company I can think of for an Inner Sphere mercenary group from the Lyran Commonwealth, we set off into the galaxy. Our first mission is quite simple. Insurgents are threatening the peaceful and morally just people of House Steiner, and we must defend this homestead against the invaders. All things considered, it went quite well, and on our second mission we would pursue these invaders from where they came. The mission mentions...
It's scary how much this is starting to kind of look like...
something about people rioting against the government, but that's clearly nothing but periphery propaganda. With the knowledge that everyone within this map has forfeited their right to be called human beings, we walk into the designating circle, punch an urban mech in the face, and start firing randomly in all directions until we're informed our job is complete and it's time to collect our payday. With a crisp almost 4 million C-bills in our account after travel expenses, things are looking up, and if things continue at this rate, heavier mechs than a goddamn locust are right around the corner. And just like that, I've opened my mouth and doomed the next mission to bank balance hell. Almost immediately upon starting, my Griffin's arm was blown off, and while switching to our commandos did let me finish without further issue, that turned half of our earnings into repair costs. As an honest mech warrior, the only way to make up for this loss is more murder, and this independent assault on a political person of
Political assault!
some import is the perfect chance to get our balance back in the black. Preparing to finally start taking our enemy seriously, their first wave approached.
Prepare for incoming hostiles.
And if that wasn't a classic Mech 5 moment. Thankfully, this was indicative of the rest of the mission. For a moment, I did feel some fear as 5 enemies appeared all at once, a full half of the enemy's incoming forces. Then I remembered that helicopters in this game might as well be make-believe, and their charging light mechs had neither.
That is one question, one thing that always confused me. When you could be building the mechs, even just like urban mechs, why are you building helicopters? Are these just helicopters that were always that were still around? Or are you really building more helicopters? When a mech just looks at them, then they're gonna die. Oh, I'm saying it feels like you're like, sure, mechs for scouting are okay, but I mean, not mechs for scouting, helicopters for scouting, but you're gonna try to find a mech with what is equivalent to Tweety Bird against like a very roided up Bugs Bunny.
Their fists nor anything worth being afraid of, really. 1.6 million C-bills at once, which at this point in the game is an absolute game changer. With this, the primary gameplay loop of Mech 5 has been established. One mission will have some catastrophe, which means we barely, if at all, break even after travel and repair. I'll get paranoid and over-prepare, and the next mission will be a cakewalk. In one mission, one of my commandos explodes for reasons beyond my comprehension. In another, we're surrounded by an entire lance with vehicle support, and despite our health bars being all around half, take not even 200k in damage. A good rule of thumb for this game is that your mech simultaneously has twice as much health as you think it does and exactly 1 hit point left at all times. After this planet with 3 missions on it, because apparently the borders of Lyran and periphery space resemble Yugoslavia circa its breakup rather than a stable civilization, we found ourselves at 10.5 million C-bills to play around with and reputation level 3. No one of importance in the Inner Sphere has any idea who we are, but their underlings are finally starting to hear about us.
Yay! We're being noticed by senpais! Yay!
After one last round of starter region bullying, we're at a crisp 15 million C-bills after payment and salvage have been accounted for. With enough money to feel comfortable on splurging, we head deeper into the inner sphere to find some bigger and better mechs. To send off one of our commandos, however, we dive headfirst into an arena battle, a free-for-all of any light mech you can bring. The first 99% of the match goes well, picking off weakened enemies and waiting for any further stragglers from the brawl to break away so we can take them down. The last 1%?
Just suffered a forced amputation. Lights out!
Yet another classic Mech 5 moment. At least we can sell our now obliterated commando in exchange for not only
You're selling
a Black Knight, but a Centurion with a very nice toy slapped onto it. An AC-20 on one of my favorite mechs. Well, that makes getting shit-rocked in the arena ever so slightly more palatable. To begin the next stage of our quest to become filthy rich, we take on one of the heroes of the Inner Sphere quests. One of them only needs us to reach level 4, which we'll be doing soon anyways. The other, unfortunately,
I'm not crying, you're crying.
will put us at odds with House Steiner, and so with great sadness I have to turn away this contract. To feel better, I go a little more independence with my new toys. The downside of a Black Knight is that even on an icy planet, I will overheat if I so much as think about firing all my weapons at once. The plus side, if I aim my lasers well, nothing will survive long
Oh no,
enough
wait,
to
he
take
bought a Black Knight. Okay, I was freaking out that he was selling a Black Knight. I cried.
advantage of my impromptu nap. Our first official Fancy Boy quest was once again on House Steiner's bill, and once again bullying people that most definitely deserve it. I feel good about this mission after spawning with a bit of treasure interrupting the intro dialogue, and thankfully I didn't jinx myself this time with that statement. Aside from a moment
I like how he keeps emergency shutdowning. Run a few lighter weapons, like 1 or 2 lighter weapons. Like, what the hell? They don't overheat that much.
where I overheated and took the Battletech equivalent of 20 lashes to the back, our targets were destroyed and we promptly bugged out. With some of these kinds of missions, however, they're 2-for-1 deals, so you won't have time to repair afterwards. Thankfully, we have just enough mechs that we aren't going into battle with nothing but barely functional armorless targets, but in the future it won't be a bad idea to get ourselves a few spare tires, as it were. The final mission of the trio did give us time to repair, but in exchange it was technically on behest of the independent faction who hates our guts, so we made much less money than we could have. Moving further on in and completing another mission on behalf of the company Bowie Electronics, apparently we've just been smashing out the facilities of another corporation that had nothing to do with the quest line up to this point. Some random dude who worked for them for like 3 weeks once was stealing some of Bowie's stuff, whereupon Bowie responded by smashing the nearest other company in the face. Embarrassing, but I made more than I lost in repairs, so I'm still content. A decent
Corporate. Can I say corporate America here, everybody? I'm gonna say it anyways. Corporate America, everybody.
amount of missions were nothing.
Oh, we accidentally attacked our rivals? When it was this person? Oh well, I still made money.
Of note happens, and we've accumulated quite the amount of cash, so we jump off to the inner sphere to flex our bank account on those who are financially challenged. Aside from recruiting a new pilot or
That's not political in any way, though. Promise. It's just funny. If you live there, you know it's funny.
place one who died after I forgot to hit record, rest in piss bozo, don't even remember your name, we acquired 3 new very fancy things to play with. The almighty King Crab, for even in universes where mechs are the main form of combat, everything will return to Crab eventually. A hero archer, which I'm sure is better than normal ones in some way, but I'm just excited to be able to ram 5 million missiles down people's throat. And one of my favorite mechs to round us off, a Highlander. Though I'm preferential to Space Germany, even I have to recognize that the thing to be most afraid of in this setting is when a mech starts blasting bagpipes across the battlefield, and until an Atlas can be acquired, this is a more than worthy substitute. We can even send our Locust to live on a nice farm upstate to complete a Cantina mission. Normally I keep starter equipment out of nostalgia in these games, but in this case its continued existence in my storage bays was a reminder of a time I wasn't richer than most planets in this setting. While I'm still hesitant to jump into the full-on deep end for now,
Richer than most planets is a wild statement.
One new heavy mech and 2 assault mechs does wonders for one's confidence, and we head into a zone still a bit above our reputation level to show the world we mean business. Testing our newfound might in a defense mission proved we could take the heat in the short term, and with mechs in reserve we were able to complete even 3-parter missions without worrying about running out of functional machines. While the king crab does look like it's about to shit its 3-story pants with every step, a face full of 2 AC-20s is able to handle most problems with almost indecent haste. With not only some heavy hitters, but once again an abundance of cash after selling some salvaged mechs, I decided I'd briefly travel elsewhere within the inner sphere for some missions. Knowing that in a short amount of time the FedCom was going to be born, I figured
FedCom. Oh, okay.
playing nice with them couldn't hurt in the long run. So after I sat staring at this hunchback, wondering whether or not my newfound appreciations of lasers the Black Knight gave me was worth the heterodoxy against the orthodoxy this thing presented, I headed to Fedrat territory to scope the place out. Upon arriving in a system, I was given the choice between assisting the Capellan Confederation in an assault or assisting the Federated Sons in defending from the Capellans. Now I am by no means a Battletech expert, but I am aware that kicking Capellans in the ribs is basically a sport amongst the fan base, so I figured I might as well go with the flow and join in on the kicking. The mission began with a bad omen, not something like a warning from our
Hunger, have a good time. Thank you, Hunger. Why are we hating on the dragons?
mission lady or a fight right out of the gate, but because I spilled champagne all over my floor by mistake. This proved to be prophetic as my Black Knight sustained heavy damage and my King Crab was outright destroyed, setting me back a hefty chunk of change and getting my best pilot killed. The other side of the coin that is making fun of House Liao was remembering that they are still a great house and have quite a few mechs under their belt to throw at you. Vengeance needed to be had, and the second mission went far smoother, with the only real damage being the armor stripped off my Highlander. Flying back to Lyran territory for another pilot, we return once more to beat up the Capellans in a 3-parter mission. In the first part, those warnings the game gives about mercenary groups potentially disliking you for muscling in on their turf finally becomes relevant as a group called the Kellhounds decide to jump us right out of the gate.
Surprise! Our employer knew you were coming.
Aside from my commando receiving the treatment all light mechs do in this game, they were dealt with incredibly easily, as was the actual mission itself. The second part of the mission went adequately. It's never a joy to see the AC-20 get blown off your mech, but aside from that little oopsie, our objective was destroyed with minimal issue. For the third part of this crusade, the Kellhounds contractor must have been drunk and forgotten I had annihilated one of their lances about 20 minutes earlier, because they joined us for the last leg of our job. While we did sustain heavy damage throughout these battles, most of my preferred mechs being damaged did mean I got to enjoy a nice treat of face-stuffing Capellan light mechs with 2 AC-20s as I hopped into my
Stop attacking the dragons. It's hurting you. Pancreas.
King Crab. I am man enough to admit that this is a sexual thrill for me. Deciding it was
Alrighty now.
once again time to mix things up, we now went to House Kuritan territory to ruin their day. In spite of having to come to terms with the fact that the left arm of my Highlander is never going to make it through a single mission without severe damage, our operation went smoothly. I would like to shout out this particular urban mech pilot who stood there staring the complete wrong direction contemplating life as I gave him the old Highlander burial. Normally I would hang around a given region doing at least a few different missions for my factions of choice. It's nice to make a good impression, and
Yeah, I did escalate quickly, but also introductions are key and important. Remember that when you're stepping on their face.
the area the Kuritan missions were in was appropriate for my level and provided some nice payouts. Comparatively, a nearby region was a bit under my pay grade and was farther from the border, which means more time and money spent on traveling than if I just stayed put. However, do you see this funny little dog right here? That would be the symbol of Wolf's Dragoons, a mercenary company of unparalleled renown. For most in the Inner Sphere, they're the kind of company you could only dream of hiring and working alongside. For me, they were the cause of me screaming, "I know what you are," at my monitor, and then beelining it towards their territory, hoping to God they'd try and start some shit. Unfortunately, the exact opposite happened, and they instead came in to assist me beat up the Kuritans. They performed well, staying in lockstep behind me and jumping on any foes that got too close. They performed suspiciously well, as if their origins were a culture of people bred and raised to be the perfect warriors.
Look, the girls are okay. Okay? Okay? Calm down, Pancreas.
I'm watching you, you goddamn creeps. We also saw God's least intimidating charger during this point. Putting it down felt more like a mercy than anything else. As for what I spent a good amount of the time following that RimWorld style,
I noticed that Pancreas attacks their feet all the time. Me over here trying to be like my Gundam brethren and attacking the cockpit exclusively.
mental break seeing the Dragoons gave me, it was bullying Kurita again. After all, I have to show them who the rightful rulers of the Inner Sphere are, plus the money was so easy I spent like half of one mission just appreciating the skybox. House Davion would even sometimes reward me for my participation in bringing freedom to their enemies, such as with this panther. Now, bullying the great houses is always a good time.
Selling it. God damn it, I love this man.
But my mercenary is a liar at heart, so every now and again, I feel the need to bully people around me who can't afford all the fancy toys that I can. Plus, remembering my infuriating defeat at the arena earlier gave me the drive to prove myself in the realm of public blood sports once more, and so I entered what I thought was going to be a heavy mech throwdown. Perhaps if I read the description of any mission ever, I would have realized that I was instead bringing a Highlander to a match of nothing but medium and light mechs, which is probably bad sportsmanship if nothing else. But if they really wanted me to not do that, they wouldn't have set the tonnage limit to 100, so I say to hell with them and hello to a nice chunk of change. Another arena contractor made a similar mistake, because I showed up with a lance including a king crab against 3 locusts and an enforcer. Have you ever hit a locust with an AC-20? They don't handle it very well. I think the only reason that isn't against the Ares...
Understandable. You hit the fly with, instead of a fly swatter, you hit it with a bazooka.
conventions is because people assumed you'd feel too much shame for bringing that much firepower against a locust to actually do it. Shout out to the organizers of Battletech arena matches. At this point, it's become clear to me that they don't actually care about making money or giving people a good show. They just want to watch people die, and they happen to find an economic way to do it. But shortly after, ladies and gentlemen, we had done it. We had found the first of 4 of the finest mechs in the entire Inner Sphere, the mighty Atlas. Though giving 10 million C-bills
Atlas.
to the Combine certainly hurts, it's a price that's well worth paying. After this monumental achievement, I decided another change of scenery would be nice. Beating up Capellans and Curitans is always fun, but what could be more fun for a mercenary than to set up shop in the Battletech equivalent of the Balkans?
Dragon Flame! Grab the Dragon Flame!
Things up for my merry band of war criminals, I walked into House Merrick's house and started pissing all over the carpet. At last it was time to stride to war in the greatest machine to ever grace the galaxy. Terror and inevitability incarnate, mech after mech fell to the firepower of the Atlas. I was unstoppable, I was invincible, I was shot in the head and the Atlas flopped over. It would seem House Merrick does not appreciate my small scouting force. Nevertheless, we do continue our fruitless mission to try and bring stability to the Free Worlds League by killing enough Merricks that they won't be able to keep killing each other, and thankfully the Atlas I command isn't regularly having its head blown smooth off. While I have you, by the way, have you ever wondered what it's like to be on the right side of history?
That's a wild question to ask a dragon. No, I enjoy burning down villages, mind you. That's why I'm banned from flight.
Did it, Commander? This whole place has been flattened.
Some people may ask, is it worth it to take the lives of so many innocents for money? To that I say, yes, there is no joke. I do not view anyone in
You get paid for this? Man, I'm owed a lot of back pay then.
front of me as a human being. I view them as payday. The joke comes in the form of whatever the hell the wacko Rangers thought dropping a single Griffin in front of an Atlas was going to do, other than turn that Griffin into slag. Maybe the Dragoons had just finished punching them in the balls or something and this was all they had. I don't know. Anyways, look at all these pretty buildings get torched. Isn't this fun? I also took on a story mission of some kind, but since
You're not burning enough, Pancreas. You need to burn them better!
this is career mode and the only story I care about is the one where I make all the money and drive all the Atlases, I barely pay attention. This happens though.
That machine's down for the count.
MechWarrior families be like,
Huh? Well, he flew. I if I can fly.
Can we see
Cool
him?
flip.
But then, with over 40 million C-bills in our account, it happened. After venturing to the industrial hub systems that cross through Terra itself, which incidentally, here's what that sounds like as I check for an atlas in each system. I found them. We found not one, not two, but 3 atlases in these systems during this journey, 2 of which were the same type. We hadn't even yet reached the 3030s and we'd done it. A full lance of atlases was ours to command. Absolutely unrivaled firepower and destruction was at our fingertips. For the low, low price of almost all of our money, we had become the greatest mercenary company in all of the Inner Sphere. I Hate Poor People was no
You're finally not a poor people.
longer just a dream. It was our reality. Now it was just time to take him for a test drive. I will not lie to you, I'm definitely a little hard right now. Oh god, look at
TMI. But okay.
all those missiles. Look at the AC-20s doing their work. Look at how much damage I've taken that just doesn't matter. The head was still fine-ish, and they couldn't core me. At Reputation 8, we charged into one of the most conflicted areas of the entire Inner Sphere, destroyed well over a dozen of House Merrick's mechs, and proceeded to walk out like we owned the place. And it turned out that acquiring my Lance's final form came just in time, for as early as it was. For those of you unaware, the galactic map of Battletech briefly had this giant orange blob smeared across it. Just as in the lore, the Federated Commonwealth was soon to come to this run, and House Davion had a special request of me. In order to test how the Lyran and FedSun militaries could work together, a series of war games were proposed to try and smooth over the transitional period. I agreed to take part, because while this would result in my shooting fellow Lyrans in the face, that's just how this setting goes. It's not breaking the rules though, because this will ultimately improve their combined fighting capability, helping the Lyran Commonwealth in the long run. And really, what's a few destroyed mechs in the face of House Steiner's endless coffers? Our goal was to defend orbital cannons firing off while a combined Davion and Steiner force assaulted us. Assisting us was another group of mercenaries, and together we did good work. The forces of what would soon become the FedCom were completely unable to work with each other and poured in piecemeal, and while the integrity of the facility did get a bit low for comfort, we held the line all the same. Our next target was to take down one of the nobles in charge of the FedCom forces, who supposedly piloted a custom Victor filled to the brim with lost tech that he called the Dragon Slayer. Unfortunately for him, I do not pilot a dragon.
Kill him.
I pilot an Atlas in a mission rated for 200 tons max. In spite of his defeat being certain, I figured we may as well play nice with the people that actually matter here, and I resorted to only blowing off his mech's legs. He seemed appreciative and even said the Davions would have to keep an eye on our company in the future, which is the sort of thing any mercenary commander loves to hear. Be it trying to kill us or paying us to kill for him, that kind of contract work can only result in more and more lucrative paydays. With an early in established with the FedCom, I decided to indulge in a little bit of collecting. In the story mode of this game, our character's father was an established MechWarrior who did some cool adventuring around the sphere. None of this matters in the slightest to me or career mode, but the missions that occasionally come up act as if it were still story mode. In this one, we venture forth on a journey to claim a mech left to us by a fella who was helped out by our daddy dearest. All I really give a shit about is having a shiny, unique archer in my cold storage, but for once in these games, the NPCs weren't viciously unhelpful. The contractor, the daughter of the mech whose previous owner bequeathed it to our mercenary company, was helpful and did her best to try and get it into our hands. Her brother, meanwhile?
You gotta help me out. You gotta help me. Please help.
Not so much. After several missions of running around dealing with this asshole, making me traipse around asteroid belts and sending the damn Wako Rangers after me, I finally find his dad's mech and take it for myself. Overall, I consider this to be a net neutral experience. The paint job on this thing is phenomenal, and while a bit too close range for what an archer normally is, it could probably do me well during city defense missions. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure the Wako Rangers are going to be gunning for me just as much as they are the Dragoons after I've kicked them in the teeth twice now. I did at least get further proof of the Atlas's superiority.
Atlas do punch. Atlas move on. Atlas complete mission.
Look at the absolute mess this thing got caught in, and all it did was spit out a tooth and ask for another round. Kerensky really commissioned a timeless piece of hardware with this thing. We were also blessed with an opportunity to not just prove the Atlas's superiority further, but our own companies. In one of the Steiner's many campaigns against the wealthless, we were tasked with defending a facility against an independent insurgency. Then throughout the course of the battle, we faced not just one, but two enemy Atlases, both of which were summarily dealt with and our supremacy as mech warriors assured. During the repairs in a nearby system, another mech also caught my eye, a Marauder. A nice and all-around quality heavy mech, something about it just drew me to it. It just seemed like a good idea to purchase. I felt I needed to give it a home. It wouldn't be any good to leave such a quality mech in perfect condition, rotting in the middle of nowhere. I just had to change one thing about it. There we go. Nice, solid black paint job. There we go. Anyways, our company is about to receive
What the hell?
a massive boost in standing. No longer are we just harassing the various factions and houses for scraps. Now, House Davion has called us in as part of a massive war effort. With perhaps history's largest wedding gift needing to be prepared, we join a massive assault against the Capellan Confederation to kick off the birth of FedCom. Our goal in this whole affair? The planet of Tikhonov, the Capellan Confederation's most crucial industrial world and one of the only places giving them a GDP higher than a candy bar and a used condom. Our first
Wow. Alrighty then.
mission saw our company destroying a well-defended bunch of anti-orbital cannons. In spite of our allies refusing to fight the enemy mech reinforcements, which cost my Highlander its AC-20 yet again, the batteries were destroyed with minimal damage to the rest of
Man, you're just all right, aren't you?
my mechs. Victory was ours, and the Capellans were handed a resounding defeat for the first operation. For our second assault, we were tasked with destroying a company of Capellan defenders who had taken refuge in a city with the idea that that would make us more hesitant to attack them. Do you understand what setting you're in? One of the NPCs even said basically the same thing. The Ares conventions don't mean shit anymore, and even if they did, none of us care. The next leg of our mission was to invade the primary mech factory on Tikhonov and capture the planet itself. With the majority of the remaining Capellans driven into the wilderness, capturing the facility would mean the Fed Sons averted themselves one of the largest mech factories in the entire inner sphere, and by extension, so will House Steiner soon enough. While the Atlas was always an option, the most optimal weight distribution would be settling up in a few of my heavy and medium mechs instead. Besides, my Black Marauder was tempting me. It promises me
Stop!
a good fight and a greater paycheck as if it were a kindred soul. The factory provided high levels of resistance, however. Even with our FedCom allies, the fight was a slog, with new lances of mechs hiding around every corner, air forces constantly pouring in, all of which fought with the ferocity only cornered rats possess. In spite of this, we pushed onward, and after one final lance of defenders was destroyed dying for the Capellans, the factory surrendered and we collected our paycheck, with a whole mech thrown in as a bonus. Continuing forward into the campaign into the Confederation, we next lay siege to the planet of Tigris.
Tigris. Is it Tigris or Tigris? 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 Tomato!
The game makes a big show of telling me I won't
Don't look at
receive
me.
nearly as much support going forward from House Davion as I did prior, whereupon I proceed to receive exactly as
We could also say Caplon. Their name is Caplon!
many allies as I did on Tikhonov. It's all the same meat for the slaughterhouse as far as I'm concerned, though, and despite the Capellans having this really cool piece of equipment that gives my HUD a seizure, their forces fall just as easily to Lyran might as before. Next up was a couple of generators supplying power to something or other. I didn't read the mission briefing because I don't care. All I know is that the Marauder is hungry and so am I, so I hope the inhabitants of this city don't mind me walking around with a PPC in an almost literal lust for blood. Unfortunately, according to the background dialogue, some of our Davion employers were eliminated by the Capellans and their codebooks stolen, putting the entire operation in jeopardy. Our smashing of yet another city where the data was being decrypted prevented them from figuring out the codes, but we were still too slow to keep them from sending it to Comstar, who forwarded the information to the Capellan world of Sarna. This is a world I have great hesitation in invading for a variety of reasons. Aside from being an important world in Capellan space, the Battletech Wiki is named after this place, which is the kind of worrying omen that would make even the most hardened of mech warriors wary.
Uh-oh. Hello, High Warders.
On top of that, apparently our FedSun allies decided to smash up the local HPG station. The end result of this is a transmission from them so faint that we can't even be truly certain if it's our allies, a Capellan trap, or Comstar dickery. The map also doesn't give me great confidence. For a FedSun unit trapped in Capellan space, they seem remarkably calm and not exactly fighting for their lives at the moment. Coupled with a long and entirely uneventful march to meet up with them, and I'm expecting one hell of an ambush. In what was actually a surprising twist, though, they were our allies who had been marooned on the planet. Less fortunate was the massive Capellan assault coming to finish us off, which combined with the, shall we say, less than ideal condition of our allies' mechs meant we had to push them back essentially on our own. The commander of the Federated Forces had further bad news, assuming she wasn't lying out of her ass. They had nothing to do with the HPG station's destruction. For them and our own company, this was a mystery that was going to worry us the longer it went unsolved. For me, it might as well have hung a neon sign over the whole mission saying Comstar tomfoolery inbound. On our allies' advice, we consign our dropship to essentially being mothballed for our time on Sarna and begin the long haul of guerrilla warfare on a planet we never owned to begin with. If nothing else, I can push through this grueling mission by imagining our allied commander beating me into a bloody pulp while I thank her for the experience.
Oh, he down bad. Oh, he down bad. Pancreas is down bad.
Down bad thoughts aside, the mission. We're off to the destroyed HPG facility to regroup with the FedSun forces that supposedly destroyed it. Either they went rogue and insane, or this is a trap.
Oh, they went rogue and insane, or this is a trap. Why can't it be both? Let's go with both. I think it's both. Can it be both? It could probably be both. What do you think, chat? Both? Both is good.
And I'm betting on the latter again. This time I was correct, with the game outright calling them imposters as we close in on the facility. With the constant vaguely ominous threats about greater purposes and having to kill us, I'm now staring at the enemy waiting for them to start screaming about Jerome Blake and various other reasons they have the moral high ground to kick our balls into our throats. Because I'm now interested in reading the mission report, since Best Faction has decided to start poking their nose in here, we learn that a great number of the enemy mech warriors committed suicide before they could be captured. I wonder what shadowy telecoms group these fellas might belong to. Raising hell in another city for a brief few minutes, we then move on.
Raise hellfire.
On to attempting to link up with the mercenary support of our allies. What followed was a brutal defense as enemy forces.
Brutal defense. You have 4 atlases. What are you doing? Did you just put all like heavy weapons on them? You didn't give yourself one light atlas at all? I don't think you did. I think he literally went 4 atlases and all of the heaviest weapons he could purchase.
Sent wave after wave of some pretty hefty mechs, with the occasional locust sent to get AC-20'd in the face and laughed at by everyone nearby. While I did start the fight by dropping from the ceiling of a warship and damaging my mech, and ending it minus an arm, the enemy was repelled without a single casualty as we held the line against all odds. After almost certainly destroying some of Comstar's valuable property in a city, we were informed that reinforcements were finally on.
Why does his head not match his body? Like, this is like... I'm not the only one that sees that, right? Or am I crazy? Man wanted to look good for picture day.
En route, and we could leave this planet with our lives as something other than either Capellan servitors or footnotes in Battletech history.
I like the idea of visibility unlimited. Not the hell? What kind of eyes do you have?
And thank God for that, because if there were any more missions where our enemies cause my HUD to assault my actual real-life eyeballs, I'm gonna go into a rage and not stop until House Liao gets the House Cameron treatment.
No.
All we had to do was push back one final assault by our enemies, and by God, if this wasn't the finest display of Lyran tactics I've ever seen in this game. Instead of maneuvering around this city like what small-brained idiots might do, both my forces and our enemies pushed down a single lane of the city, headbutting each other in the face. I would core mech and overheat. If there was some distance, I would briefly hide behind the cliff face to cool down and not get shot with missiles, and then back into the fray we went. There were no tactics, there was no strategy. There were simply 2 groups of people people that hated each other marching headfirst into a meat grinder. And in scenarios like this, the man who has the Atlas reigns supreme. Victory
Yeah.
was ours, and we earned ourselves not only quite the paycheck after our campaign from hell, but earned House Davion quite a nice chunk of Capellan territory. Then, from here on out, things largely weren't of too
All I'm saying, these aren't real dragons. Real dragons would be a lot more savage.
much note. The FedCom formed, and I naturally ingratiated myself with them. I took the Black Marauder out on a few more
I don't know this meme, but it's starting to make me crack up every time he does it.
joyrides because it hurts, but overall, nothing of too much note happened. Even when Razelhog formed, I wasn't too pressed to intervene, since that was largely hurting House Kurita without any real involvement on my part, and it was funny to stare at them and laugh. That and the first mission would put us at odds with the Lyran Commonwealth, and per the rules established at the beginning, that's a big no-no. One last mission against some pirates seems like a good way to send our hero off, because what could pirates possibly do against me, my lance, and a whole other lance of our new best friends we just met? And I'm sure that talk about aliens and the fact that the pirates are all damaged is pure nonsense, coped by people getting outshot by their supposed prey. This'll be a cakewalk.
Wilco, focusing fire.
Weapon destroy. Weapon destroy.
Commander, come in. Commander? Commander, please, come in.
I may have misjudged the situation.
We may have done an oopsie.
As have all those screaming dying people in this cutscene. No HPG access either. I wonder who could be involved in that. The Clanners are officially here, everyone. These backwards moronic fools have come determined to claim the inner sphere from hundreds of light years away. Unfortunately, they're very good in a fight, and 300 years of not waging succession war-level conflicts has ensured they've actually advanced. Though Razelhog wasn't my preferred choice of banner to fight under, when faced with Clanners, I'll fight for the goddamn Marian hegemony if it means kicking Kerensky's bastard children's teeth in. The first missions of the invasion will be simple from both the tactical and strategic perspectives. Just try and survive. Easier said than done, because sometimes a Clanner mech will roll up and I physically can't understand what I'm looking at with the amount of firepower coming out of it. Is it a machine gun? Is it lasers? Are the machine guns firing lasers? I don't know. I just know that every time I finish a mech, one of mine has also been obliterated, and I only have 4 to their 400. Salvage is going to be the name of the game here, because the more Clanner tech I get my hands on, the better this fight will go. Immediately I have to break into the mech reserve because even the mighty Atlas sees casualties, though at least we've temporarily saved this Razelhog city. Very temporarily, assuming I'm towards the north of Razelhog territory. Spoiler alert perhaps, but Razelhog
Razelhog there
does not do terribly well
does not do terribly well.
during this invasion. The next mission is another eye-opener in a few ways. Right off rip, we learn just how fast Clanners can be. Now, objectively, I knew that Clanner mechs are better with more than just weapons. They can have their speed vastly increased through some other tech, for instance, and I knew it was coming. But seeing this little light mech run at Mach fuck was a whole different level of fear. To top even that off, we get our first taste of some of the clan's more low-key advancements, at least compared to mechs. Elementals. And while in this mission they heroically fly in a single-file line that I can burn through half of at once with large lasers, seeing them return fire with medium lasers is not heartening. Abandoning this foolish Razelhog commander who thinks I give a damn about dying for his country, we instead pull back to go rescue some old dude or other who may have something that can help us out immensely. Something to do with the old Star League. And the mission to save him made me want to cry. Almost every enemy we faced was across a massive ravine, and with the mechs I brought with, a solid half my weaponry wasn't within range. Clanners being Clanners, this was not a problem both sides faced. So over the course of about half an hour, I was forced out of mech after mech and eventually swapped into this crap one I only brought with because it was heavy tonnage. And when you're sitting there plinking away at a clan mech with AC-2s, you do not feel like a mighty MechWarrior fighting across the stars. You feel like a human character in Dragon Ball. Over and over and over, another group of
Hey, do you at least feel like Krillin? Because if you feel like Krillin, that's not too bad. He is the Earth's strongest human. Well, actually, Yamcha's actually pretty darn strong too. Yamcha could clean house on some different enemies.
Two mechs would face off against us, and over and over and over, I spend 5 minutes moving back and forth from behind a rock to get in and out of cover to plink.
You guys forget. They were fighting like planet level monsters and stuff. So they were defeating some of them. Krillin survived the longest. Because like, dang, what kind of... Holy crap.
Get them and repeat. Yeah, I guess it's nice to play tactically and use the terrain, but I am a Lyran. Tactics and that is for nerds. In spite of the misery, the most teeth-grinding mission I've ever played in Mech 5 was finished, with some help from additional forces at least making the ending feel suitably cinematic and fun. Since the clan invasion was everyone involved scrambling to figure out what the hell to do, the game suitably decides we're now going back to Razelhog, this time to help ensure its leader can escape a doomed world. This means going back to fighting Clan Wolf, thankfully, because the last mission saw us battle Clan Ghost Bear, and I like them. I can't dislike anyone who canonically conquered a planet with a game of football, after all. But killing wolves is like slipping on a comfortable sweater, and we get to work alongside the Razelhog military forces, putting them in the ground. Though they appear to have deployed some particularly dastardly tech that lowers my frame rate to PowerPoint levels, their defeat is all but
I was wondering why that was happening.
certain, and while we are still fighting rearguard actions to save what can be saved, now we're learning. If this was a counterattack against an inner sphere force, there'd be a dozen mechs waiting to jump us all at once like 3-story tall piranhas, but the clanners wait for us in a star of 5 mechs only, the most basic unit of their military. Their honor dictates they engage us in a contest of who's more cool and capable, and it means that though the 1v1 is deeply unequal, we can take advantage of them refusing to bring in reinforcements when they're outnumbered. The first prince is evacuated, the clans defeated at least in some small way, and now we can finally take a look at what the galaxy map looks like after all this time. Not ideal, turns out. Rushing to find the various pieces of information that will apparently help us discover what's going on properly, we dive headfirst into clan territory to defend an outpost from Ghost Bear. They put up a good fight, but thankfully developers have realized a clan mech horde mode is the kind of thing that just creates dead mech warriors, and so the repair bays scattered throughout these missions see us through. Venturing further into Ghost Bear territory, we smash up a few different outposts and spaceports they have lying around. In theory, this is to retrieve vital data packets, but I do not need a reason to jam an AC-20 into a clanner scum's face and pull the trigger. The service is its own reward in this case, but either way, every mech—
Did you just say you like them? Pancreas. Pancreas. Carry on.
we take down is one less that the people of the inner sphere need fear. Our efforts couldn't have come—
I'm seriously thinking about playing a MechWarrior soon for my nostalgia week. Nostalgia. It's gonna turn into like nostalgia year at this point, guys. We're just gonna play all the old games. MechWarrior, GameCube games, PlayStation games, Nintendo 64.
At a better time either, because the massive blob that is the territory the clans have captured only continues to grow like the galaxy's most stuck-up cancer. Our next incursion into clan territory comes with perhaps the most risk out of all of them yet. While still scrounging around for data and whatnot, the clan we're now coming face-to-face with is Clan Smoke Jaguar. On paper, they're—
Smoke Jaguar?
Arguably the ultimate incarnation of the clan's warrior philosophy.
Funny joke.
In practice, this is Battletech's second largest group of assholes, and things like mercy or not treating your fellow man like slimy dog shit aren't really part of their culture. Worse still was me going into this battle with the scraps of my collected mechs, at least in terms of tonnage. Turns out the clans aren't exactly willing to repair and refit my mechs mid-invasion and after I smoke entire stars worth of the warrior cast, and so this battle would require me to use all 3 brain cells a Lyran noble is born with. Taking up defensive positions in front, the initial wave of Jags was easily dealt with. Then another wave happened. Then another. Smoke Jaguar may be the biggest pricks in the sphere, but you can't call them anything but relentless. Combined with the fact I didn't notice these mech repair bays for some ways through the mission, and the Jaguar proved that if nothing else they can back up being powerful warriors on top of massive dicks. But the line was held, of course, and victory ours, as it always is. After this, though, I had no choice but to return to Kuritan territory to repair and refit, because when almost every mech in your bay is heavily damaged, it is perhaps a good idea to take a breather. Right afterwards, back to Smoke Jaguar territory. And this mission, this goofy-ass mission, as you can see, we had a timer before reinforcements arrived. Considering that, I figured the Clanders were going to give us hell, and then the first wave approached. One guy. Alright, maybe they were just back from patrol early. It happens.
Pancreas, look. They were doing a
Back to
Leroy
work
Jenkins.
now. If I win, add me on Discord.
Okay, but look. He was doing a Leroy Jenkins impression, okay? You're supposed to kill him later. Gotta let the rest of them come in and be like, keep it together, and then they all die, and then you're like, you know. You call him a goddamn idiot.
Someone has to be first. Second wave, another single guy. Third wave,
They're trying. They've got the spirit.
though. Surely the third strike would be two guys. Methinks Smoke Jaguar were
The rest will come later. Don't worry.
smoking the Jaguar a little bit too hard. And no, I don't know if I mean they were smoking pot or masturbating with that euphemism. And then all of a sudden, our reinforcements
Both?
arrive, and the Jaguars decide that our buttholes need a fist or 20 up them immediately, obliterating two of our mechs in quick succession. One of which did this. In case you were wondering about the pilot, he died. The mission was a success, but
He's showing about the pilot after showing at a mech that just obliterated and like seizuring on the ground. Just...
Another retreat to Kuritan territory was required, what with all my best toys being in shambles. But with all this brutal attrition warfare, we've gotten ourselves the information we need to gain access to a final facility. After somehow convincing another merc group to lend us a hand, it was time to invade. We touched down, approached the facility, and got to work. Every clan mech that stepped up was promptly dogpiled by two lances at once.
Atlas holding up the sky again.
Some of them barely had time to open fire before they were entirely obliterated, and any initial fears I had over Clan Diamond Shark's opening salvo of this game with this mission were quelled. By the time their leader made an appearance, they were almost all dead, and while I'm sure he was expecting something approaching honorable combat, he got an early grave instead. Judging by there being a rather lengthy cutscene, I presume that we've done something right in this facility, but unfortunately it seems we still need time to fully download and process that data. Diamond Shark was coming back with a vengeance meanwhile, their strongest warriors ready to pay us back. With the Atlas Lance no longer fit for combat, things looked grim, but we have two things that they don't: a willingness to play dirty, and a mech that's hungry. Popping in and out of the urban area, we pick off the invading sharks one by one. They fight well, and at some point during the carnage, another Atlas falls, but the Black Marauder always seems to hold together just well enough to get the job done. Diamond Shark is repelled, but not defeated. This far out in the deep periphery, and their territory at this point, we still need to get out. The final stretch was a marathon of an evac mission. As expected by this point, Clan Diamond Shark pulls no punches, and as wave after wave block us and our allies' path. The fighting is fierce, and casualties abound on all sides, with our mechs sustaining severe damage and one being lost entirely. Were it not for the occasional repair bay, we'd have no choice of making it out, but luckily with enough perseverance, our escape ships are in sight and we can breathe a sigh of relief. One final push, and that's all she wrote. We escape back to Inner Sphere territory
all she
with
wrote.
information
That's all
on
she
not
wrote,
just the
chat.
clans,
That's all she
but the
wrote.
most accurate star charts.
Did you hear him? That's all she wrote.
Of the periphery and the entire Inner Sphere. Great wealth and riches await us shortly, and the galaxy enters a new stage. As the news reports, Comstar defeated the clans at Tukaid, and the invasion has been stopped for good. In spite of this, though, the clans are here to stay. They've been held back, but Razelhag, the Kuritans, and the Fedcom have all been brutally beaten. In other words, it's the perfect time to be a mercenary. But to send us off, I think one final mission to return to our roots is in order. Though it's in a tutorial area and something we're going to make zero money on from the overtonnage penalty, this is the perfect way to unwind after all that clanner fighting. It's been a tremendous time helping fight off the clans. Indeed, I find there to be no higher purpose. But there's one thing that also never fails to bring joy to my heart for how easy and socially acceptable it is: beating up Capellans.
Concentrate fire on the designated target.
Thank you for watching. This Steiner-sponsored burning of Clanner and Capellan property would never be possible without your support. If you'd like to support the channel, consider subscribing. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there.
Take care out there. That was PancreasNoWork. Give him a like and a follow if you haven't already. Why haven't you followed him yet? Subscribers. And subscribers and follow me and like me. Not that I care or anything. Smoke a button. Bye. Shut up! That was cool!